Hello, everybody. It's been a minute, but I'm back. And here's the new studio. You've probably already seen it because of a few of my TikTok debate uploads, but let me see if I can show you more. See, there's a wall over there, and that's an armoire that I bought on Facebook Marketplace, and it was like oak colored, and I painted it all black and gold. Here, I'm going to show you the inside, actually, because I'm a little bit proud of myself. So anyways, I built out all these bookshelves, just kind of custom made or whatever. Just some simple materials from Lowe's. Oh, I almost broke my mount. And then, yeah, I really love it. I do feel like it needs a little more. I'm not sure. I feel like I need something behind my head. The guitars and stuff were behind my head in the past, and this just feels empty over here by comparison. So if anybody has any ideas, go ahead and float those to me. I might put my diplomas right here or something, although juxtaposing those with the guitars would make no sense. I don't love everything about it. The lights, the camera, so like this is a real camera, a Canon EOS Mark II something 50 or something like that, and I really love that it has like that's focusing on me and blurring the background a little bit, but this is just all washed out and I don't like the way it looks. This camera only records in 720, I'm pretty sure, so I don't know. I'm thinking about getting a 4K webcam, but money. This camera is stupid expensive, and so I need to try to sell it before I do anything like that. Anyways, here's what we're going to do today. I'm late to the Tucker Carlson evolution thing, but we're going to go over that. And Stephen Meyer was on Piers Morgan's show talking about how science proves that God exists. So we're going to take a look at those two things.
If evolution is real, and if there is this constant, I don't know, but
he doesn't know. I think he's just trying to be polite.
It's visible. Like you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that in fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution, the theory of evolution.
We've given up on the... Who's we, Tucker? People like you probably have, yeah. But so what to do first? The idea that we've given up on evolution. There's a journal of evolution. There's the Journal of Evolutionary Biology. It's bi-monthly, actually. So no, we publish many studies, highly regarded studies are published because that's a journal you really want to get in. There's huge competition. Tons and tons of stuff is published all the time. And yeah, we have really serious academic journals for evolution. We have absolutely not given up on it. That's insane. Evolution is taught in schools. Now, is that because there's this brainwashing effort by Satanist, Democrat, leftist, whatever's to make the kids gay and stop believing in Jesus? Well, I hear a lot of stuff like that, but no, that's not what's going on. Are the teachers do they not know any science? Are they just dummies with degrees that sit behind a desk and they're just a warm body in the room trying to collect a paycheck and they don't actually know anything about science? Some probably are. I've met a few that might be something like that, but no, the vast majority, no, they actually care about this stuff and they learn about it and they continue their education, like me with all these books over here with regard to it. If evolution were actually obsolete and we had given up on it, that would be like reflected in the educational system. Like, for example, we don't teach typing classes anymore because it's not that typing isn't important, but you don't have to because kids are just so overexposed to it that there's no need for it. I'm trying to think of something that we have given up on. That's kind of hard to think of examples. I'm just trying to think of like old obsolete technology. Like we gave up on VHSs and CD-ROMs, right? You can't buy a computer that has a CD drive in it anymore. You just can't because it's not necessary. That's an example of something we've given up on. And if computers and stuff, if people actually did still buy DVD players and computers with CD drives or whatever, then that could be explained by a conspiracy. Whoever makes the CDs just lobbied Congress to make it so that it's a law that you have to build stuff with CD drives. See how stupid this is? And then the classic adaptation. So yeah, I wrote about this in my book. You know what? I'm actually just going to read the entry on this from my book because it's really short. So maybe you've already bought my book, maybe not, but either way, here we go. That's adaptation, not evolution. There's no possible way that anyone who makes this claim has spent even 5 seconds thinking about it. The claim obviously came from somebody who thought it made sense, but every other utterance must be nothing but thoughtless parroting, because it is by far the worst argument against evolution that I commonly hear. What is it that controls the characteristics, adaptations that organisms have? Genes. What is the only way to change one of those characteristics? The genes must change. Genes changing over time is the definition of evolution. Well, it's a definition of evolution. It's not possible to pass down an adaptation. You cannot pass down a wing, a curved beak, or long hair. You instead pass down genes that control those traits. The only way for an adaptation to exist or change is for changes in genes or gene expression. You cannot have adaptation without evolution, period. Adaptation is also not a thing that happens. It's a noun, not a verb. So to say adaptation is how an organism develops the traits it needs to survive is not just wrong, it makes no sense. If by adaptation the person arguing means to adapt, then that is explained away by the previous paragraph. This adaptation thing is very Lamarckian, and people who criticize evolution, most of them don't read up on it, so I doubt most of them even know what Lamarckism is. But yeah, the idea that an organism adapts and that causes it to change, and that could, he didn't say that like it can be heritable or whatever, and I have no idea what Tucker's beliefs about have animals changed over time, or, well, life in general. I have no idea what his opinions about life changing over time are, but if you think that life does change, and you think that it's adaptation that makes it happen, hey, kitty cat, then you're a Lamarckist. Or a Lamarcky, I don't know. I don't really see any other way around that, and Lamarckism is just very obviously false. I also cover that in my book.
Kind of not true. I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution. The theory of evolution as articulated by Darwin is like kind of not true. Right?
In what sense?
It's not kind of not true. Every single thing that we have discovered about biology has supported the idea of evolution, or maybe there's just been some irrelevant things. Genetics and the fossil record confirmed everything that Darwin thought, and the only surprises were how vast and expansive the extinct forms of life were, and to some extent, like organisms that looked like one type of organism were actually not closely related to those other things you would superficially guess they're related to, and that can be because so much of their family tree has been pruned, or because of convergent evolution, or I guess what I was saying there, part of what I was saying there was more like organisms that don't look very closely related, like hyraxes and elephants, are the closest living relatives of each other because of so many prunings and extinctions on the tree of life. So the thing about, you've probably heard that before, the elephant is the hyrax's closest relative, but the hyrax is not the elephant's closest living relative. I think it's hippos, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh no, you know what? I think it's actually manatees. You know what? We're going to go to Google. What are elephants most closely related to? Elephants are most closely related to the Sirenia, which include manatees and dugongs. Okay, awesome. And hyraxes. Oh, interesting. So yeah, they're definitely more closely related to the manatees and dugongs. Manatees, if you don't know, they have like nails on their flippers. So kind of cool. They look like the nails that elephants have. You guys probably can't read this. I have no idea why, but when I screen capture and make it small, it just completely obliterates the resolution, even though this is like about how big it appears on my screen. I don't know anything about OBS or any of this crap, so I'm hopeless. Okay, so what was the point we were making? Everything we have found out about biology supports Darwin's ideas, or is just sort of an irrelevant side thing. Although, really, as has famously been said, nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution.
Well, in the most basic sense, the idea that, all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record.
Why is it? So it's just not possible that some of the evidence doesn't, like that we don't have it anymore. I mean, if Tucker believes in the Bible, where's the original Bible? And where is every single copy of it that's ever been produced? Therefore, let's give up on it. That's an equivalent argument. I would actually, funny enough, that one's actually quite a lot stronger. But this is just an insane goalpost shift, and I don't think Tucker is acting as an agent for any sort of like pseudo-intellectual creationist like think tank or anything like that. I think he just actually thinks this way and believes these things. But yeah, you have to have every single form of life that's ever existed preserved. Otherwise evolution isn't true. That's dumb. What's also dumb here is the implication for if I ever do a second edition of my book, I have a few things that I want to add to that. And this is one of them, because I've started to hear this quite a lot recently. If evolution's true, where are all the 2-celled, 3-celled, 4-celled, 5-celled, etc. organisms? Which is just, it's so wildly dumb. Why, first of all, why would they still exist today? Why is it that they must exist today? Kind of like languages, where is every language that's ever been spoken? Oh, we don't know where they are. Then I'll just claim that everybody has always spoken the language that they speak there. That's obviously stupid. So I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I live next to a river, and there's a very large bike path, and a lot of the river is like dried out most of the time because I live in Central California. And so there are people on dirt bikes and ATVs constantly. I actually kind of hate it. But anyways, another big problem with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cell whatever is, why is it that single-celled organisms could not just have gradually evolved into multicellular organisms with far more than just 2 cells? I don't see a problem with that. I don't know if you guys heard, but they actually did induce multicellularity to evolve in, I don't know if they were yeast or what, but we're going to go to the internet and find out. Okay, that's what I thought. It was yeast. Now, one of these, I'm not going to read this whole thing because I don't have a lot of time. You're supposed to be able to see the auroras from where I'm at, which is super rare. So I'm not going to spend a long time going through this. I want to go outside and see it. But in one, they kept them in sort of like a shaker thing, so it just tip upside down, and that would separate them from their food source or something like that. So there was selective pressure for them to evolve multicellularity, and they did. They didn't just form a colony; it was obligate. So that is a de facto multicellular organism. Now, at that point, it can't exist unicellularly anymore.
Of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's
and they
tons of record of
Right.
adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, through the...
Sure.
Yeah, but so this adaptation thing, the only thing he could possibly be talking about is like changes in behavior. There are things like, some animals, like pigs will go feral very, very quickly, but that's really just a case of certain genes that are kind of dormant in captivity reactivating. Now, that is an extreme case of it's the closest thing I can think of to a real example of an organism adapting to their environment, but that's just not writ large what organisms do. I mean, if that were the case, then organisms would be changing literally all the time to exploit things. Species would not go extinct if that were the case. Or, well, funny enough, they either wouldn't go extinct, or you'd think that they would go extinct far faster than they do, because certain organisms would just be better at exploiting those niches. But this idea of adaptation would be a turbo-driven form of evolution. But again, that doesn't really even work for what he's talking about, because I'm pretty sure that Tucker thinks that species are static. So let's actually kind of forget that. Yeah, a dog goes out and adapts to its environment. That, again, that's just like a behavioral thing. They will not structurally change because of that. Apart from like the thing with like feral pigs, or from, they can obviously get perhaps like a little bit stronger, have better endurance or something like that. But I would just love to point to Tucker and be like, the fossil record is composed almost entirely of completely different organisms. So how, by adapting, have the organisms we have today arrived here? But I don't know. He would probably just counter with, all life was created at one point, and most of it died for some reason, and we have today's animals, and we always coexisted with all forms of life, which then you'd just have to get into a deep dive of the fossil record and radiometric dating, I suppose.
Litter to litter. But no, there's no evidence at all zero, that, people, evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all.
Okay, there is, except not exactly what he said, because he did the insane goalpost shift again. There you go, Tucker. We literally do have the evidence that humans evolved. This is exactly what you would expect. And what I hear from people all the time is, oh, what are these? Some monkey skulls, some misshapen, mutated skulls or whatever. None of those are humans. It's like, yeah, exactly. They're not. This one is over here. Well, actually, several of them are humans because they're homos. Pause. But yeah, the rest of, they're all hominids. They're all apes, right? Now, we don't need to have the trackway of, we don't need to have 3.5 billion years of evolution to support the idea that humans have evolved. We literally just need one of these things to support that. But we don't have one, we have thousands. And again, if evolution were true, then there should be nested hierarchies of relatedness preserved in the genetic record. So we should be most closely related to other apes, and then to primates in general. And then next would be, just mammals. I'm trying to think of a broader group of mammals, but I'm not sure. Well, the placental mammals, I guess. And then the mammals, including the monotremes and the marsupials. And then it would be vertebrates, and then I think technically reptiles, and then all vertebrates, and then, so on and so forth. And that is exactly the case. This is not unlike a crime scene investigation at all, because what can you look for there? You can look for footprints. We literally have footprints. You can look for DNA. We literally can look at the DNA. The evidence can be so good that even if all you have are the impressions and the shadow of the person being there, you can, with the highest confidence we can really have, claim that this is what happened. And the physical evidence for evolution does the exact same thing. Because again, these are predictions that all came true.
And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution, because the theory of adaptation is clearly, obviously true.
There's no such thing as a theory of adaptation. This is something I forgot to. He's just saying things that aren't true and just pretending that that's what the world is like. This is so much like Donald Trump, where he just says, people are telling me, and that people have been saying X, Y, and Z. Just blanket, like, why don't I just go around and just say, oh, Christians admit that the Bible is literally false. It's just, yeah, the clergy, they've given up on the idea of creation even being true, which, well, actually, some of them, they don't take a literist view of Genesis. So that would actually be more than fair.
But Darwin's theory's totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200.
The number of cliches. I only ever saw like a tiny part of this, so I'm not like I actually am blind reacting to virtually all of this. Still, yes, it's still a theory because it is okay. I had to swap out camera batteries there. What was the last thing this idiot said? Oh yeah, still a theory. So, yes, it is still validated by evidence. It still has passed every test in accordance with the scientific method. The fact that it's still a theory is the strength of it. I cannot sit here and talk about, well, in science, a theory I'm not doing that. I'm done. If you're too stupid to know better, then you only deserve to be obscuriated. You don't deserve the teachable moment there. You are so ignorant that I will not be nice about it. There, it's like being an adult and not knowing how to wipe your ass. There's no excuse.
No, we have not found that at all. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
You do not have any theories on it. And evolution is proven because we have found evidence. Oh, this is fascinating.
God created people, distinctly, and animals. I mean, I think that's what every person on Earth
what did he say?
But they're not proven.
What are your theories?
Well, it's nice that he said that it's not proven.
God created people, distinctly, and animals. I mean, I think that's what every person on Earth thought until the mid-19th century, actually.
Right, but
jeez,
that's not a new idea.
That jump scared me with his weird laugh there. Yeah, no, it's not a new idea. So yeah, in our species' sort of cultural infancy, when we were deeply ignorant and superstitious, when we prayed to volcanoes and we did dances to try to make it rain, and we thought all kinds of stuff that's completely stupid and wrong. Yeah, we came up with, does it not bother you that all of the harebrained naturalistic ideas that were proven to be false from those times, and all of the other mythologies that you acknowledge are mythologies, does it not bother you at all that the motivation and the reasoning, the arguments from ignorance and incredulity that those people came up with to say this, we don't know, so God will be the placeholder for the explanation for these things. It doesn't bother you that you're clinging to that explanation while laughing at the ignorance of all the other people that came up with explanations based on the exact same methodology or thought process, because that should bother you a lot. But I mean, it doesn't bother him because he's never thought about it for any length of time whatsoever.
Yeah, they didn't have computers. They didn't have a general understanding that we have today of the
very
process.
Good,
do you think we understand more now?
Yes.
This is I haven't talked to one of these wackadoos in a long time, but this is like when people say the ancient people knew more than we do. And then I usually press them on that. And the only thing they really mean by that is, well, we don't know how they built the pyramids. It's like, sure. There was also some guy who lived somewhere back then whose name I don't know and will never know. Therefore, there's actually an uncountable amount of dumb, what would you even call that? Not like procedural, but just like anecdotal knowledge. I don't even know what you would call it. Just like general useless knowledge about what was this guy's favorite horse's name. There's an endless amount of that. So therefore, and there have been more people have died than are alive. So is that what we mean by by they knew more than we do? No, obviously we understand the world to such a higher degree than they do that it's just kind of like, I don't think ancient peoples were stupid at all. They were humans. If you could teleport any of them to the present when they were very, very, very young, they'd have absolutely no problem living in this world. But they were deeply ignorant and didn't know jack shit.
Really?
You don't think that we understand more today?
We understand way less. We understand so little that we're actually sitting here allowing like a bunch of greedy, stupid, childless software engineers in Northern California to like flirt with the extinction of mankind.
Okay, well, what an utterly stupid argument that doesn't address the point like at all. So I would have loved to have pressed him on that, because oh wow, that moon is blinking really hardcore, isn't it? Sorry about that. I'm probably gonna have to get rid of that moonlight, which sucks because I love that. I'll just have to put it somewhere else, I guess. That's fine. But anyways, I would have loved to have pressed him on that, because what he's arguing for is anarchy and strong manning. By that I mean like, like I don't know, I'm sure there's a term for this, like an anthropologist would know it, but like the big chief method of like civilization or whatever, might makes right, Genghis Khan, whatever. So by smart, he just meant that, well, yeah, people in the past would have resorted to unthinkable amounts of violence to prevent nerds from controlling their lives. Yeah, Tucker, sorry. I just I fundamentally think that we live in a more decent world, because I think the pen is mightier than the sword. I think Hobbes was right and Rousseau was wrong, and we kind of do need a Leviathan, and the civilizing process has worked. So pissed about this. I actually had a long debate with a guy about this kind of thing. He just said like the United States of America, like the government has absolutely no right to exist at all. And it was just bizarre. And I was like, what, if we, because this whole thing was, or the reason I'm pissed is because the goddamn screen recording on my phone did not take. So because I absolutely clowned this guy for 30 minutes, and then he kicked me out at the end. And I did a really good job, but anyways, you'll just have to take my word for it. But eventually we got to the point where he was saying like his problem with the system was he wasn't born into it, so he's forced into the system, and that's not just or whatever. So like I asked him, I was like, okay, well, do you have a better idea for a system or anything? And he said no. And I was trying to be pretty kind to him most of the time. I was like, well, that's fine that you don't have an answer. I'm not trying to like get you. But the problem is, let's say that you do come up with an answer or a solution or whatever. And according to you, it fixes all the problems that you think this current system has. Well, 50 years from now, there's going to be so many people that were not born when you came up with your brilliant idea, and they'll say the exact same thing you're saying. And then he said, yeah, that's the point. Yeah, perfect. I want anarchy. And then I absolutely lost it. I laughed so hard. And from that point, I was not nice to him. I was like, do you really not understand that you would be creating a world that is extremely violent and full of rape and full of crime and all these other things? I don't know what these idiots are thinking or what goes through their heads to be like, that's the kind of world that I want to live in. But you know what? We don't have time for Stephen Meyer. I'll just make that a separate video. So, yeah, first one of these in the new house. I think we'll end it there. But thanks, everybody.